KD stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi from Schultz4.com. I am Bubba from 100.7 Star, and this is a star right here in Pittsburgh, PA, Lee Terbosic. You are more than just a magician. Your never-ending infatuation with Harry Houdini is so interesting, I just can't even begin to start. Welcome to Car Stars and everything in between.
Well, thanks for having me, boys. Good to be with you.
Hi, Lee.
Hey.
So that's a great intro, Bubba.
Thank you.
But honestly, I think there's so much more to Lee, and you really are. We talked about this, I think, on the Bubba show at one point.
Right. Yeah.
We talked about this.
Morning.
We talked about in the morning. We talked about Harry Houdini. We talked about. I have a friend, E. Clayton Cornelius, who's a Broadway producer, and he liked. I sent him all your things.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And he really liked it, and he's intrigued.
Okay.
He's producing Tommy right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's a Tommy revival. And the only reason I mentioned that is because he wants to get through that and then pay a little bit more attention to the Houdini thing that you're doing.
Yes, we should definitely talk then.
Yeah, no question. But it's interesting because I have so many questions. One of them is, how did that begin? That infatuation.
The Houdini stuff?
Yeah, how did it begin? That's just one of the questions. And then, I have, is that, and then follow up to that is that the entire Lee Terbosic?
No.
Yeah, I know.
It's only a sliver of it, to be
that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
That's what I want to dig into.
The Houdini stuff, and I'll keep this short and tight for everybody. The Houdini stuff kind of came out of thin air in a weird way. Now, as a magician, every magician, when you start, you learn about the crazy stuff and the incredible career that Harry Houdini did have.
Yeah.
I growing up was always a big fan of history, and so magic history was obviously part of my development in being a magician. So, but my Houdini curve happened in 2010, the day I was literally standing at his grave.
Oh, wow.
Wait. Why would you be at Harry Houdini's grave?
Okay, so I have a mentor magician named Paul Gertner. He's originally a Pittsburgh-based guy. He lives in Boston now, but he's one of the best in the world. He's been on The Tonight Show. He was the personal magic teacher to Johnny Carson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Paul's incredible. Well, Paul invited me because he was my mentor. He was obviously helping me on my path of being a magician when I was a young guy. And giving me some expertise. He invited me to New York City to help him produce his magic show that he was doing in Manhattan for a weekend. Now, when the show was over on Sunday, as we were packing up the car and getting ready to come back to Pittsburgh, Paul said, he goes, "Hey, we have a little bit of time, Lee. Do you want to see if we can go find Harry Houdini?" Now, when he said that to me, I was obviously very confused. Like, what do you mean, go find Harry Houdini? What does that even mean? Because he's been dead for 90 years, But he knew that Harry was in fact buried in a little Jewish cemetery in Queens. So we went to the cemetery. We found Harry Houdini's grave, and we talked magic for a while. And that little moment really had a lasting impression on me, because when we got back to Pittsburgh later that day, Paul presented me with a book known as the Taschen Magic Book. It's this giant coffee table book. I have it over in the other room. He gave it to me as a gift back in 2010.
Okay.
And when I opened that book on my dining room table, where I'm actually sitting right now, I opened to the page of Harry Houdini doing the upside down straitjacket escape in downtown Pittsburgh. That's how it started. I discovered that iconic Pittsburgh Houdini image in 2010. And in the image, it's dated in the corner. It says November 6, 1916. And in my mind, right then and there that night, I said, I envisioned myself hanging in the exact same location as Houdini was, but I wanted to add another layer to it. I wanted to do it on the anniversary of 100 years. Now, this was 2010, so I had 5 and a little bit of change to get to that moment in time down in Pittsburgh on November 6, 2016. And I worked for the next 5 years on that idea to bring it to fruition. And luckily I did, because since then, that idea was the catapult that has taken me around the world, has created Liberty Magic, has created my show 52 Up Close at Hotel Monaco, brought together the series that I shot for Discovery Channel, Houdini's Last Secrets, and also gave me the appearance on History's Greatest Mysteries with Lawrence Fishburne on the History Channel. So all these little things came out of that one idea.
Wow.
And then because of all that hard work, not only what separates you from maybe any others is that you actually have the endorsement of the family.
I do. Yeah.
Right? And so I think they recognized what you put into it and that you
Yes.
were really legit and you really did your homework.
I embodied it. Yeah, I really and I followed Harry's kind of his life, his trials and tribulations, but his methods to madness. Like how he had to figure out that if you're going to do a stunt and hang upside down in a city from a height in a straitjacket, you had to condition your body for the blood. And so it was all these little things that he developed along the way that I had the privilege of standing on the shoulders of a genius to use, so that when I did it, I didn't make any mistakes.
So does that really happen? How does that work? How did that
inversion therapy? I have an inversion table, those teeter for your bad back, right? Those inversion tables. So I got one in 2015, and I essentially had to get into it every couple days and hang upside down so that the blood in my body could regulate itself, so that for a longer period of time you don't get headaches or blackout or anything like that. Because when you're going upside down, your body's not ready for that, And so you have to, and for when I was going to do it on the big day, I had estimated anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of being inverted. So you have to prepare your body for that type of inversion.
So, Lee, I try to think of questions that you've never been asked before. And we've talked about your infatuation with Harry Houdini. Who was before Harry Houdini? I mean, if Harry Houdini is the oldest magician that I've ever heard of,
right?
He's obviously legendary, but somebody had to come before him.
Yeah. Well, there were many magicians that came before Harry, but I would say one of the most famous magicians that came before Harry was a guy that Harry Houdini borrowed, or AKA stole his name from.
What?
Harry Houdini's name isn't Harry Houdini.
What are you talking about?
His real name is Eric Weiss.
Isn't that something?
So there was a Harry Houdini before the Harry Houdini we all know.
Sort of.
What?
The magician that Harry stole his name from was a guy by the name of Robert Houdin. And Robert, he was a French magician, very famous magician in Europe. He was not only a master sleight of hand artist and stage performer, he was an incredible clockmaker. He made watches and all kind of intricate clocks, incredible stuff. That stuff today is worth millions. It's like kind of crazy. And a lot of it David Copperfield has in his secret museum in Las Vegas, which I've gotten to see with my own two eyes. But Robert Houdin, this incredible magician from France, he when he was coming up, he had put out books and manuscripts on his magic, but they were only for magicians. They weren't for the public. And so Harry Houdini, when he was a young kid at the age of around 9 or 10 years old, when he was in Appleton, Wisconsin, he got his hands on one of those books. And one of those books, on the cover, it says Robert Houdin. And being a young magician or a young kid learning magic, when you're a young guy and you're learning something, you have a tendency to copy.
Yep,
right? We all do.
absolutely.
In the very beginning, most guys get in trouble because they copy other magicians, right? Or they copy other artists that they want to be like, And being like somebody back then meant that if you added the letter I to the end of a word, it meant you were going to be like it. So he took the word Houdin and he added the I to the end, and he became Houdini.
Wow. All right. Stand by. We'll finish the story. Lee Terbosic. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between on 100.1 FM, AM 1020, KDKA. Wow.
Yes.
All right. Hang on.
Good stuff, Lee.
Wow.
Questions?
Wow.
Any questions?
Wow.
You even know who Harry Houdini is?
Wow. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm surrounded by
I see it.
magic history right now. My house is sort of a museum. I own all kind of crazy.
Do you still live in Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah, Baldwin, South Hills.
Okay. All right.
Hang on a second. Stand by. I had no idea. I had no idea
Yeah.
where that question was going to lead us. That was awesome. Stand by. I'm just saving this one. And here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Cars, Stars, and everything in between. He's the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, schultzford.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star, and our star with us today is Lee Terbosic, learning so much about magic, but about it. I had no idea that Harry Houdini, that story is amazing to me. I just love that.
You know, but I'm going to go, you asked Bubba about magicians before Houdini.
That is correct.
A lot of people that are listening and watching us might not even know Harry Houdini because that's a different age group.
Oh,
I would be interested in knowing after Harry Houdini, between you and Harry Houdini, who was there? Who is the most, who's somebody you look up to? Who is somebody that, and I don't even know, I would ask you, I'm rapid fire questions, and forgive me, and you can weave this into any part of an answer you like. What type of magic would you say that is your field? What magic do you do?
So
go ahead. I mean, there's
so to answer your question on the magicians after Harry, so every decade almost had its magician. After Houdini, you had the Blackstones came to prominence in America and in the world. There was Carter, who's behind me. He was a legendary magician. There was Harry Keller, who's from Erie. Carter was actually from, I believe, Steubenville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of these guys were all from our neck of the woods. Harry, though, was from Europe. I mean, he was born in Hungary, but he was raised in Appleton, Wisconsin, and then in New York City. Other than that, there were Doug Henning. I mean, you had...
I forgot about Doug Henning.
Yeah, Doug Henning with the 70s. And then, of course, you get into the 80s, where the Copperfield came in. David kind of owned the spotlight for, I mean, he still kind of does, but his career has spanned, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. You've had David Blaine, you've had Chris Angel.
But wouldn't you call David Copperfield not a magician? Wouldn't you call him an illusionist?
No, he's still very much a magician. Very
much. But he calls himself an illusionist.
Well, he calls himself both. He's more of an illusionist because he is doing the biggest of the biggest tricks that you can potentially do on any stage, and he's doing even the crazier stuff. But no, I mean, he's still a magician. David Blaine, even though David does endurance stunts, and he would be considered kind of like an extreme. He does extreme magic. Or something that's called geek magic, where it's like where he's eating stuff and pulling stuff from those all have their own little box that they all fit in. There's mentalism, there's comedy magic, there's sleight of hand, there's manipulation.
And by the way, Richard, to flash back a memory, you came in for a Bubba Show breakfast one time, and we had a mentalist in that blew your mind. And he was very clear. He's like, I'm not a psychic. This is all magic. These are all tricks. I'm
going to come back to that.
That was a buddy of mine. Yeah. He was here. That was a friend of mine that I had in for Liberty Magic.
Who was that, Lee?
His name was Mark Tolan. He's a mentalist from Chicago.
That's it.
He was so good. Amazing guy. And with Liberty Magic, when we developed that, we wanted to essentially bring in all different types of magic, just not cater to like sleight of hand or just not cater to, comedy magic. We wanted to hit all the avenues. So mentalism was one of the ones that I love performing mentalism. I do it occasionally as well, but that's what he focuses on. Yeah. And so when we had him in, we sent him up to see you guys.
I want to come back to that, but I do want to say that I lived with David Copperfield. I might have told you this. For 3 months when I was in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So we were really close. And out of that relationship, I only came away with the understanding of one illusion. And
really?
He kept the rest, just one. And and I've never repeated it, but I mean, David I love him, but he is a weird dude, man.
You know what? He really isn't.
He really is.
He's super normal. Like I've
he's not normal.
Times over the years, he knows so much about
Oh,
magic.
he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Brilliant. And
Yeah, he's brilliant.
he doesn't get, he definitely gets the credit for being the star that he is.
Yeah.
But he deserves so much credit for the development of the magic.
Absolutely.
He is
Oh, he
in
does.
on
Oh,
everything.
he's brilliant. Absolutely
He
brilliant.
just doesn't
I
have
booked him. Nobody even knew who he was, but I booked him for 3 solid months at Caesar's Palace in Lake Tahoe.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was an
Okay.
unknown, and booking somebody for 3 months at that time was kind of crazy. But anyway, so I come back, and then what type of? Well, I want to talk about the Mentalist, because there's a guy out right now that I've seen him on some of the Instagram things. He kills me. I don't know.
So that guy's name is Oz. He's a friend of mine as well.
Yes.
You've seen him in doing some of the stuff in the player locker rooms.
Yes. How does he do that, Lee?
Well, I can't get into details how any of this stuff's done, but I know how it's all done, and he does it very, very well. You take a giant chance when you're working with professional athletes.
Oh my God! Yes, if you get exposed, you're done.
I've worked with tons of them over the years. They are not the easiest subjects to do mind reading with. So I give him massive credit for going into these locker rooms and trying to do magic for essentially, professional athletes.
I think it's wonderful. But Lee, what would you classify your type of magic as?
I'm one of those guys. I've been lucky. I've been able to essentially always kind of dabble and do whatever I really wanted. But I grew up in sleight of hand. I was a sleight of hand guy. I've had a deck of cards in my hands literally every single day.
Whoa.
Lee does more.
Do you have time for a trick? We could do
yes.
We
want to see a trick.
Let's go. Lee Terbosic with one trick during Cars, Stars, and everything in between. Take it away, Lee.
So we'll do one here. Let's see. I want to try. I'll do something completely different. All right. I'll do something using my phone. Okay, using my phone.
Yep.
And what we're gonna do is I have a playing card. And let me just make sure we can do this. I'm gonna try this. So I'm gonna take my phone, and I have a playing card from the deck. It's just a 4 spades. So and on the back of my case, you see this little slit right there?
A little space.
Yeah. So what I do is it's a little slit in the back of my case. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a playing card, and I'm gonna start to slide this playing card into that little slit right there. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Okay. So and what's happening is that little slit in the back of my case, it's causing the card. It's literally causing the card to now go through the phone.
What on earth is happening here? The card's going through his phone.
The card is now going through my phone. You can see that, right? It's happening.
Yeah, I can clearly see that the card's now going through your phone.
Watch this, though. So remember, though, you're watching magic
live
in the well, we are live, but we're watching it in the virtual space. If you think about it, right?
Yeah.
We're not with each other right now, but you can clearly see that card has now passed.
And by the way, if you're just listening and not seeing it, you're rotating your phone around so we can see all sides of your phone.
You can see it. You can see it going right through the phone. Now, I want you to watch this. I'm going to pull it right through.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull it right through.
Yes.
Now, here's what's important. Remember, I said that you're watching this in the virtual space. So you have to learn as an audience to question everything you're viewing, right? You have to question everything you're seeing. Like you should question whether or not this camera right here, that camera on that phone, that could be a fake camera. If I could just start to peel right there, you see that could start to look like a sticker. And I could take that camera.
What are you doing?
Right off there. And then if you look at the front of the phone, see, that's not really a phone. That's just a piece of cardboard.
What?
And if I take that apart, you'll see that this isn't a phone.
What?
But it's instead a solid block.
What? You just put it through a solid block of metal?
Of Pittsburgh steel. That is some Pittsburgh steel right there.
I love this.
That is absolutely amazing. And what a perfect way to end. Lee, how can everybody follow you?
So follow me on Instagram at Lee Terbosic, Facebook, same thing, Twitter, same thing. Wow. And then I have a bunch of public shows that are coming out. I'll be at the Oaks later this year. I'll be at the Strand later this year. You can get their tickets on their websites. And then my residency, 52 Up Close, it'll be back at Hotel Monaco this summer. Tickets can be found at leeterbosic.com or 52upclose.com. And also keep supporting Liberty Magic, because we have some of my favorite magicians from around the world coming to Pittsburgh all the time.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah, good hanging with you guys.